The late-night host noticed that Matt Gaetz had asked then-President Trump for a full pardon. Jimmy Kimmel said the reason the White House denied the preemptive pardon for Matt Gaetz is because they thought it would set a bad precedent. At the time, they were only interested in setting terrible precedents. Kimmel again, his advisors, according to Maggie Haberman of the Times, talked him out of a full-throated defense of Gaetz, which is sad because Matt Gaetz really was the son Donald Trump never had, even though he had a couple. Stephen Colbert, do you know how shady you have to be for number 45's lawyers to go, nah, that's a bad look. Now, if you'll excuse me, I just farted on camera, my head is leaking, and I'm late for my press conference outside the crematorium sex toy shop. Had to clean that one up there, Stephen Colbert. What's going on at CBS? We said that word? Yeah, in case you're curious, the word was I'm not really familiar with these. I've never used one, but they're made out of plastic, and they're shaped like a cigar. A really big cigar. Stephen Colbert did a Gaetz impression saying, the president has called me everywhere while I was lurking in the bushes outside a high school. I was making fake IDs. Gaetz says the president called him, quote, even in the throes of passion. Yes, I answered. Thinking about Matt Gaetz having sex, I'm in the throes of up. Colbert. Gaetz has denied any wrongdoing, but sources say that just before the previous president left office, Gaetz asked for a blanket pardon. Oh, I don't think the blanket wants a pardon. I think it wants to be burned as it's seen too much. Kimmel, you haven't done anything wrong when you check in with the president to ask for pardon in case you happen to get accused of a sex crime somewhere down the line. Yeah, Kimmel. The pardon request was reportedly seen as a non-starter at the White House, that's saying a lot considering Donald Trump once wanted to nuke a hurricane. Comedy is back, baby. Page 6 reporting that an all-star lineup including, I don't like the order here, the lineup, including Chris Rock, Amy Schumer, Ray Romano, Dave Attell, Colin Quinn, and Louis C.K. Why is Amy second on that list? I love you, Amy, but Ray Romano, respect. Amy named her kid after Dave Attell, so yeah. Anyway, Rock, Schumer, Romano, Attell, Colin Quinn, Louis C.K. have all hit the stage at the Comedy Cellar since the club reopened a week ago today. The owner says it's very emotional. It's been a long time since we've all seen each other, and a lot of feelings welled up in people that they weren't expecting. A lot of tears all around. The club is open at 1/3 capacity and has a curfew of 11 p.m. Wow, most shows are completely sold out on all 4 stages. The owner says we're taking a big financial hit opening all our doors. Normally would be finishing our last show at 3 in the morning. You're talking about almost 5 hours of business we're not allowed to do. I'm pretty optimistic that the vaccines will get New York fully open in the next few months, although when tourism comes back is a big if. This same article mentioned when Jerry Seinfeld played Gotham last week, and Jerry said, comedy's just more interesting and amusing. It's like changes your mood. It's one of those few things that can really change how you feel, give a little bit of real relief in the moment. In the moment of a laugh, you forget every problem you ever had. Digital Music News reporting about Joe Rogan's podcast. They claim that Spotify has removed 42 different episodes. Digital Music News says among the newly missing is episode 411 with Bulletproof Coffee founder Dave Asprey, who's a frequent guest on Rogan. The article says, strangely, Spotify has deleted 3 total episodes with Asprey for reasons that aren't entirely clear. One explanation for the removals is that Asprey frequently backs controversial anti-aging and scientific theories, including claims that Bulletproof Coffee is extremely healthy, while other coffee brands are not. Asprey has designed the Bulletproof Diet and has predicted he will live to the age of 180. Alrighty. Also missing is Live from the Ice House, episode 149, which featured Little Esther, Al Madrigal, Josh McDermott, Brendan Walsh, Felicia Michaels, and Brian Redman. The article says, that sounds like a fun time, though perhaps one too many raunchy jokes were tossed around in the episode. Indeed, the episode may have simply contained one objectionable joke, but that was enough for Spotify's editors to hit delete and remove the show entirely. Also making the delete list, Chris D'Elia. 4 episodes featuring D'Elia have been removed for Spotify for reasons that are unclear. I can clear that up for you. Chris has been accused of all sorts of things. We've talked about them on the show. I imagine that's why those episodes have been deleted. Joe Rogan has confirmed, per the article, that Spotify removed certain shows as a condition of their $100 million agreement with them. Joe said, there were a few episodes they didn't want on their platform, and I was like, all right, I don't care. Bill Burr will be kicking off his 2-year residency at the Chelsea at the Cosmopolitan this summer. That's a nice gig if you're a comic that you've just got a home base and you have regular shows there. And I know a lot of you like to go to Vegas, and it looks like the pandemic is, I don't know about winding down, but stuff's starting to get back to normal. I have an example of something getting back to normal later in this episode. Bill Burr will be at the Cosmopolitan on July 2nd and July 3rd. That's part of the 2021 tour I told you about yesterday. Pete Davidson news. He was on with Jimmy Fallon, and he's excited to be in the Suicide Squad sequel. Why? His character is named Richard Hertz. Get it? He said the trailer coming out was the first time his family and friends ever got super excited for anything he's done. Pete Davidson as Richard Hertz. Think about it. Jon Stewart's TV show has a name. It's going to be called The Problem with Jon Stewart. Get it? It'll be on Apple TV Plus sometime in the fall. Apple describes it as a multiple-season, 1-hour, single-issue series which will explore topics that are currently part of the national conversation and his advocacy work. Sounds like it might be a little on the serious side. We will see there. Also on Apple TV Plus, they're dropping another bonus episode of Mythic Quest before the Season 2 premiere. The episode is called Everlights. It's a standalone episode. It'll launch Friday, April 16th, so you got to wait a week. The episode will see the Mythic Quest crew return to offices and coworkers following the coronavirus pandemic for their annual Everlight party. Rob McElhenney, you know him from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He's the star of the show. Also, Danny Pudi from Community is on this show. It's a nice enough show. Some episodes are pretty good, and some are okay, but you should watch Mythic Quest. Rob said, Everlight is a special episode that addresses the practical and emotional difficulties of returning to normalcy. It's full of hope and joy and optimism for a bright future. Ahead of our upcoming second season, we felt it was the perfect way and the perfect time to invite the audience back into the world of Mythic Quest. Are you guys on Instagram? Do you follow at Daily Comedy News? Now, I was all excited. I bought a new microphone, and I was hoping to use it on today's show. And I plugged it in, and I did some test recordings, and I don't like how it sounds yet. So I'm on the old mic. So why did you buy a new mic, John? This one's starting to get a little cranky. I didn't bore you with the details yesterday, but it took me about 20 minutes to get this mic to work. So I'll be switching to a new mic soon. Aren't you excited about that? Aren't you glad I took 20 seconds of your life to tell you about that? You guys have taken pity on me and went to Instagram at Daily Comedy News and voted this week's question, comedy's top sitcom dog, Seinfeld or Friends. We have a runaway race here. Lane Spurka said, Seinfeld broke a lot of new ground for sitcom and let's face it, was consistently funnier than Friends. Vista Johnson's no question Seinfeld. Just realizing as I write this that the premises were the same for both shows. I just loved all the characters so much. 1997 Titan 74 says, all right, if I have to choose, Seinfeld. So looks like Seinfeld's going to win this week unless a whole bunch of you all of a sudden go to Instagram at Daily Comedy News and vote for Friends. I will tell you on Monday what happened, and I think I know what I'm going to do with it next week. Hopefully yesterday you enjoyed the story of Sounds from Space, a show we did on Sirius XM back in the day. I want to tell you another story. This one is about Oscar the cat. Oscar the cat was, I think the cat's still alive, but the cat's got to be 16 if it's still alive. In a Providence nursing home, there was a cat. And the workers at the nursing home started to notice that the cat would hang out near patients before they died. He was the cat that could sense death. Nothing funny about that. What we did with that was, just for no reason, we had a cat host an hour on Raw Dog Comedy on Sirius XM one day. And what it was just the usual sound effects, Raw Dog, Sirius 104, and then a cat going meow, and then we played comedy clips. What we did, and it was very, very subtle, we played 10 comedians. The first 9 had already passed away, and the 10th was Jackie the Joke Man. That was the entire joke. That's all we did with it. We just said Oscar the cat. It was in the news that particular week. You would have known who Oscar the cat was. And that was it. That was all we did with it. So that was a one-off, and that was fun. Now, at that time, we had a request show called Comedy by Request. The host in those days was comedian Pete Dominic, and I love Pete. Pete's talent. Pete would sometimes come into my office and throw a tantrum. Sometimes his tantrum would be so annoying, I would leave my own office just to get the hell away from him. So one day, I'm in cranky boss mode, and the staff comes in. They're like, Pete, blah, 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 something, something, something. Pete's complaining about something. And I said, a bleeping monkey can host that show. And from there was inspiration. So instead of having a monkey take requests from the audience to be passive-aggressive with Pete Dominic, we had Oscar the Cat host a show. So from noon to 1 was Pete Dominic. Pete is an actual human who is alive, and he would take requests from listeners. Then at 1 o'clock, we had Oscar the Cat. Now, obviously, cats don't host radio shows, and we used sound effects, but we ran the exact same format using leftover voicemails from the noon show. Now, what was great about it was over time, some of the audience got the joke, and they would just start calling up, being like, hey, Oscar, I love the show. Can you play some Dane Cook? Meow. And then we'd play Dane Cook. Simple enough. But then the true magic was we started getting voicemails from other audience members who were like, what the hell is this? I'm not paid for SiriusXM. It's probably not even a cat. It's probably cat sound effects. You think? So we took all those messages and we aired them with the cat responding to them. And then people were getting more and more irate. And then other people were really getting in on the joke and being like, hey, Oscar, I love the show. Don't listen to those haters. Meow. And then you play, Louis C.K. or whoever was hot at the time. So that was the Oscar the Cat show on SiriusXM, one of my favorite things we ever did. And I was going down memory lane the other day, and I found, and I shared it on my Twitter account at DCN Pod, the time Weird Al guested on the show. And Al was wonderful and just recorded some one-sided answers. And we had the cat go meow. And then Al said things like, that's a very interesting question. I've never been asked that before. And then answered the question. And we would just do this stuff like you wouldn't even explain it. We would just throw this stuff on the air. Raw Dog was a really, really great channel from like 2005 till the day that I got fired in 2013. Since then, it sucks, right? That's right. Maybe 2014. I think I got fired in 2014. But it was good while it lasted. Hey, let's go down to Melbourne. It's the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. If you want to go see Nina Oyama, you got to get to Comedy Republic before April 16th. You're going to have to somehow fly to Australia, convince the Australians to let you in, make your way to Melbourne, down to the Comedy Republic, and you can see this show that The Age gave 4 stars. The Age writes, Nina Oyama is the overcorrection we had to have. Male stand-ups have been doing jokes about the self-pleasure since forever, and now it's Nina's turn to go all in. John, you should pre-read these things so you know what you're about to read. Whoa. I'm deep in the weeds here. She reminds all of us at the start of the show, if you're not laughing, you're learning. Sounds like a fun show. 300-seat theater there. If you're in Melbourne, you should go. They also liked Beck Charlwood's show. It's called Dirty Girl. They gave that one 4 stars, and they said, it's rare to hear the spectrum of laughter Beck Charlwood elicits. A lone crowd member shrieks. A clutch of hearty guffaws rise. The entire room roars when she brings a 3-minute routine to a meticulously connected conclusion. It's an even rarer act that can pull this off in their debut show, but the 26-year-old has been selling out a generously sized room and has added extra sessions. As a straight white comic from a privileged background, you might expect the material she has to work with will be familiar, and there's plenty of safe but fun IKEA and divorce lines here, but when she really starts mining herpes, pap smears, and even abortion in search of laughs, they come up gold. Sounds like a good show. That's Beck Charlwood. Again, I don't expect you to get to Melbourne, but, it's comedy news. I want to tell you what's going on. I throw out these names today. You don't know who they are? Frankly, I don't know who they are. But 3 years from now, we'll be like, oh, yeah, we remember her from the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. And then we look cool. That's why we do this. So good news. Straws are back, baby. As you know, I go to the National Donuts chain every morning. Here's an iced coffee. This very iced coffee that I'm shaking, you can see it on Instagram at Daily Comedy News. Next to my new microphone that I'm not using is this very iced coffee that I bought at the National Donuts chain. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, you can do so at buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. It's a nice, easy way to support the show. I appreciate it. I'm going to put up another members-only episode onto that feed. I'll try and do it this weekend. I've just been totally underwater. But the reason I bring up coffee at all is straws are back, baby. I went in, and there was my cup with my name, John M., and I grabbed my cup, and I'm like, can I have a straw, please? And the guy was like, they're over there. And they were over there where they used to be before the pandemic. When the pandemic came, they took the straws and the napkins away because we were all going to give each other COVID. Straws are back, baby. I think we're starting to get to the end of this. Did you get vaccinated yet? Get vaccinated if you can. All right, we're heading into the weekend. I've actually already recorded the weekend, not because I have crazy soccer tournaments, not because I needed a day off, but because yesterday when I was in the studio, I was feeling pretty good, and I'm like, I'm going to record some extras, and I really liked how they came out. So on Saturday's show, It's a look back at the best roast jokes from the Comedy Central roast. Came out really well. It's just me riffing someone else's jokes for like 10 minutes, but I really like how that came out. Then on Sunday, now this sounds dreadfully boring, but it actually came out really well. Remember Chris Gethard? I told you earlier in the week, he was like, this is the first special in history where the comedian almost got killed. And I was like, I don't know about that. Maybe in the Roman Empire. Well, I looked it up. Yes, comedians were killed during the Roman Empire, and we will deep dive on comedy during the Roman Empire. Sounds dry, but it ain't. So that's Sunday's show. Hope you have a nice weekend.